Hello, welcome back again. I'm still with listening, and I'm sure you're listening to this intently. Don't only be a good listener, but you have to be an active listener. I'm talking about listening. You cannot be a passive listener. You have to be an active listener. And as I take you down, you'll understand what I mean by active listening. That means I am also playing a part in the whole conversation, not verbally, but by listening, orally. Orally, I am being a part of the conversation. Pay attention. Very, very true that you have to give your full attention there. Give the speaker your undivided attention and acknowledge the message. Here again, that means if something you agree, nod with a smile, or if you don't agree, you can, with a smile, you can frown a little, or maybe you could lean a little forward when something of interest comes up in your way of listening. So that's called active listening. Your body is also working along with your oral skills. Show that you're listening. How will we show that? Use your own body language and gestures to show that you are engaged. I link it to my previous point. That means your body language will say it all. It would also be something to recommend here. You could take down notes so that the speaker knows that this is an interest area, or maybe I could be questioned later on. So the speaker also gets ready. And as a listener, I think you will really be applauded if you use your body language, your little notepad, your smile, your little nod to be actively engaged in it. Provide feedback later. If you are asked to provide feedback there and then, please do so by asking question, or sometimes by asking for a rephrasing of certain concept that you may not have followed. The speaker will absolutely appreciate it. Why? Because he or she will know that I was being listened to. So I'm sure you could get your clarification, and the speaker will also have the satisfaction of sharing more information with you. So feedback could come in various forms. There could be a feedback form sheet. It could be a question round. There could be acknowledgement round. There could also be clarification round. So all of these add up to feedback. Defer judgment and your views unless called for. Don't make any judgment there and then. You do not bring up an argument. It's not a debate. If it is, then you can put in your views. But if it isn't, if it is a meeting, if it is different kind of a communication, be it amongst your peer, in an organization, in a lecture, in panel discussion, wherever, you have to defer judgment. Don't make judgmental statement personally, politically, socially. These kind of judgments should not be made. You should not make a comment which could be detrimental to a proper speaking, listening scenario. Respond appropriately. All of it actually comes to your last point. Respond appropriately with your body, with your oral questions, with any kind of feedback. All of it can wait for a later time, or at a time when asked for, or immediately with your body language, but see that there is appropriate time for everything. You see, there can be certain factors which come in the way of good listening. I thought of sharing this with you as well. Immediate result or benefit. Often people look for an immediate result or benefit, meaning a phone call or a written communication for which you are asking for a yes or no, a price of something, or a time for something, so you're looking for an answer immediately. So when you need an immediate answer or an action, you listen only then. Whether I could come over to your office and have a meeting with you is a communication over the telephone, and the receiver is waiting for a yes or a no from you or a time from you, then there could be very focused listening. But that is very compartmentalized. So get out of this compartmentalized listening. Personality traits. You see, people who have aggressive personality, they find it very difficult to lend a hearing ear to anybody, which means that my words have to be heard first, which may not be accepted all the time. My words and your words will meet at a common platform. That is good communication. Thirdly, dislike for a subject matter, which will affect your listening. You are not interested in the football match which was played the previous evening, and your immediate peer is talking about it, and you are not interested because you have to study for your exam. So you miss that match out. So your interest area is shifted. Maybe you're interested, but it had shifted for that particular match elsewhere to your studies. Now you need not be rude or rough, but you can put it across very politely, saying that I am interested in football, but I am sorry I did not watch the match because I have my assessment, assignments, exam to study for. So maybe we can discuss it at a later time. That's a very polite way to get out of a conversation that you're not interested currently, instead of getting into any kind of argument saying that I cannot talk to you right now about this, and exams are more important. I'm surprised why you didn't study last evening. Don't make judgment. I just gave you an example because it could lead to a conversation like this, and for students it's quite common, so I chose this example. Nature of job. Depending on one's work, like student, physician, teachers, managers, they all need to listen. For that matter, everybody needs to listen. But if you are into kind of specialized job, your listening skills have to be sharpened to the maximum. If a physician only listens half-heartedly to the symptoms of his students, I think he's missing out on something very important. A student has to listen to the lectures, interactions which are taking place in classroom teaching. If not, the student is missing out on something. A teacher needs to listen to the questions of the student, to the needs of the student. If not, the teacher again is missing out on something very important. And so what have you, in every sphere of life, listening is a very, very important aspect. And of course, this is very common. The physical environment, very noisy, too many people talking at the same time, no place available to sit down somewhere and discuss certain things, then that could spoil a good conversation. You cannot listen. If you want to, you cannot listen because there is some construction work going on somewhere, or the noise of the traffic is so much, your telephone conversation is getting hampered. So these are physical environment which could come in the way of good listening. It's better to avoid that place if possible, move away from there. If possible, fix a meeting away from a place which is not affected by too much of noise. I have some images here for you. There has been a lot of talking. Now I would like to show you some images. Can you see in the first picture, the gentleman? Can you see the intent with what he's listening to? That is called intent listening. Maybe a lecture which is to his liking is going on, so he's listening with intent. Now look at the second picture. I particularly chose this. And the person who's right at the end, can you see that pleasant smile on his face? It means he is agreeable to what is being said. And all of these people, they are intently listening. And look at their body posture. Some of them have their hands on their face, kind of resting, imagining, picturizing. I can see people with pen in their hand, ready to jot down something. But on the whole, the holistic part of it is that everybody is listening. And these are the different body language that we can see. The first picture I chose is of a telephone conversation. That picture shows that maybe something not very pleasant is being said. Because as I told you earlier, that you need to have a smile when you are speaking, even over the telephone. So if you have a smiling countenance, a very pleasant body language, your telephone conversation will also carry that. Go to the second picture. This is a conversation going on between two gentlemen, and I can see that the one to the right is speaking and the one to the left is listening. Look at the intent, look at the body language, look at the interest in their eyes when they are listening and speaking. And the third one is when the listener is not agreeable, so there is a pursing of the lip, but this should not continue for too long. It could break into a smile. But here I emphasize on the body language part of listening as well. So on the whole, to sum up, I can say the listener has also an important role in the conversation. Don't be under the impression that the listener can be passive. Be active listening through the body, through your facial expression, taking your turn, waiting for question answer session, clarification, being very positive, and all of that could actually lead the speaker to change his or her view. You never know. Thank you, and be a good listener.